Tensions in South Africa have escalated dramatically following one of President Cyril Ramaphosa's most provocative and forceful announcements since taking office, a declaration that has sent shockwaves through the nation and triggered widespread debate. In a fiery national address delivered from the Union buildings, Ramaphosa vowed to launch an all-out war on illegal foreigners, stating that the country could no longer shoulder the burden of undocumented migrants who, according to him, were contributing to crime, unemployment, and pressure on already strained resources. With key cabinet members and security chiefs standing by his side, the president spoke in a cold, resolute tone that underscored the seriousness of his message, describing illegal migration as a silent invasion that had gone unchecked for far too long due to weak enforcement, corruption, and porous borders. He emphasized that South Africa welcomed lawful immigrants who contributed meaningfully to society, but insisted that those who entered the country illegally, disobeyed local laws, or operated within criminal networks would no longer find sanctuary. His words, punctuated by applause from supporters, immediately polarized the nation. Many South Africans, particularly those living in impoverished or densely populated communities, expressed relief and approval, arguing that the crackdown was long overdue. They claimed that illegal immigration had overwhelmed public services, created unfair job competition, and fueled criminal activity, making daily life increasingly difficult. On the other hand, human rights advocates, opposition leaders, and international organizations condemned the president's stance as xenophobic, dangerous, and politically motivated, accusing him of weaponizing public frustration to divert attention from the ANC's corruption scandals, economic decline, and internal instability. DA leader John Steenhuisen criticized the speech as a desperate attempt to find scapegoats instead of fixing the economy, noting that focusing on migrants would not solve South Africa's deeper structural issues. In contrast, Action SA leader Herman Mashaba praised the president, insisting that South Africans had suffered enough and that illegal immigration had become a national crisis requiring decisive action. Within hours of the announcement, major cities, including Johannesburg, Durban, and Cape Town, reported large-scale coordinated raids led by the Department of Home Affairs, SAPS, and the SANDF. Officers swept through informal settlements, transportation hubs, and workplaces, demanding documentation and arresting those without proper permits. The operation, dubbed Operation Sovereign Shield, quickly resulted in hundreds of detentions. Social media erupted with videos showing chaotic scenes, officers conducting searches, crowds cheering the enforcement teams, and others protesting what they perceived as human rights violations and racial profiling. Government officials confirmed that deportations would begin promptly after legal procedures, while the presidency hinted at the introduction of new immigration reforms, including stricter border controls, tighter visa regulations, harsher penalties for businesses employing undocumented workers, and stronger oversight of border security agencies known to be riddled with corruption. Analysts described Ramaphosa's move as his boldest and potentially most dangerous gamble, suggesting that he may be attempting to reposition himself as a protector of national interests amid declining public trust, internal ANC divisions, and mounting pressure from opposition parties. They argued that by aligning himself with widespread public anger over unemployment, crime, and inequality, the president might be seeking to regain political momentum ahead of upcoming elections. Yet critics warn that the strategy could escalate xenophobic sentiments, provoke violence, strain diplomatic relations with African neighbors, and tarnish South Africa's global reputation. A political expert from Wits University cautioned that while the crackdown might generate short-term domestic support, it risked long-term damage, noting that once xenophobia enters politics, it never leaves peacefully. Neighboring countries such as Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Malawi voiced concern, urging South Africa to handle the immigration issue with compassion and respect. Zimbabwe's government emphasized that many migrants were fleeing extreme poverty and instability rather than committing crimes, appealing for restraint and humane treatment. International organizations, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, condemned the raids and demanded transparency, due process, and protection for refugees and asylum seekers who might be caught in the sweeping enforcement measures. Meanwhile, reactions on the ground were intense and deeply emotional. In neighborhoods like Hillbrow and Alexandra, many residents insisted that undocumented foreigners had overrun local businesses, flooded the job market, and contributed to crime, making daily survival difficult for South Africans living on the margins. Others expressed fear that the president's actions could lead to mass violence similar to previous waves of xenophobic attacks that traumatized communities and drew international condemnation. A Johannesburg shop owner reflected the conflicting sentiments of many citizens when he stated that the country was collapsing and people were desperate, hoping that the crackdown might finally bring change, but also acknowledging that hostility toward foreigners could spiral out of control. Ramaphosa's dramatic declaration, whether seen as necessary leadership or political theater, may signal a turning point in South Africa's immigration strategy, one marked by stronger border enforcement, harsher policies, and heightened political and social tension. Whether these measures will restore stability or plunge the nation deeper into conflict remains uncertain. What is undeniable is that the country has entered a volatile and unpredictable chapter. Public frustration is high, political stakes are enormous, and international observers are watching closely as South Africa grapples with the complex intersection of nationalism, governance, and identity. As the ANC struggles with internal fractures, corruption allegations, and dwindling public confidence, this aggressive stance on illegal immigration could either revitalize Ramaphosa's leadership or accelerate his political downfall. The coming months will reveal whether this bold move strengthens the nation or ignites further turmoil, but for now, South Africa stands on the edge of a profound and potentially perilous transformation. Beyond the immediate political shockwaves, analysts warn that the broader consequences of Ramaphosa's declaration could reshape South Africa's social fabric in unexpected ways. Community leaders fear that the aggressive rhetoric may embolden extremist groups already known for vigilantism and xenophobic mobilization, potentially leading to clashes in densely populated urban areas where tensions between locals and foreign nationals have simmered for years. Economists have also raised concerns that mass deportations and sudden workforce disruptions could harm sectors such as agriculture, construction, and informal trade, all of which rely heavily on migrant labor, both legal and undocumented. Employers worry that the crackdown could trigger labor shortages and drive up operational costs, ultimately affecting food prices and the broader economy. Meanwhile, immigration lawyers and refugee advocates anticipate crowded courts and overwhelmed detention centers as thousands of migrants attempt to appeal their cases, seek asylum, or prove legal residency. Some fear that vulnerable individuals, including women and children, may be swept up in raids without proper screening, raising the risk of human rights abuses. As political parties prepare for a contentious election season, many observers believe Ramaphosa's move is only the beginning of a much larger struggle over national identity, governance, and the direction the country will take in the years to come.